Server restart in 3, 2, 1.
Alright, welcome back to Server Restart In. It's a World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players get together to discuss their thoughts and opinions about the current state of the game. My name is Jim. I'm joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hello.
And this week, I guess we're going to do a little bit of a more in-depth discussion on the 9.1 cinematic, the Kingsmourne trailer. As well as a little bit of news about the 905 PTR stuff. So I guess we could start with some of that. There's been some changes on loot stuff for the Great Vault. So currently for Raid, you need to do, was it 3, 7, and 10 bosses to get options?
Yeah.
They're lowering it, so it's going to be 3, 6, and 9.
Oh.
So,
yay.
I mean,
Big change.
Yeah, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, technically, that would affect us if we were to do, our normal, like, every other week in our group.
I mean, sure, if the gear was worth it.
I mean, maybe not for us, it's not, but for some people it is.
I guess.
It's not, it's a team effort, right?
I guess for me it's going to be worth it soon.
Why?
Because I'm not doing any Mythic Pluses, so...
Yeah, but that's not going to change the quality of the gear that you currently have.
No, but, I mean, it's going to outpace...
I mean, for the next raid tier, maybe, but not now.
Well, for the next raid tier, it'll upgrade it to whatever it is. The next raid tier is.
Yeah, but that's not going to be until the middle of the summer at 9:05.
I mean, I still have some 187 pieces.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh. It's magic. Yeah. There's, making some changes to PvP and talents. Let's see. Valor changes. New materials and gear stuff. So, not really a lot that's anything major. Just
what are the values on what you're going to need to buy gear? Have they released to that? I mean, I guess it's on the PTR.
Current, you mean to upgrade?
Yeah. Like how much Valor you're going to have to farm every week to be able to upgrade your shit.
Let's see. It looks like it's just a straight 250.
But what gives, like, does
How
a
much
run
Valor
give
do you
5 Valor? Like, that's the concerning thing.
I don't know. Let's see. You can get up to 750 per week and 1,500 total. So that's currently the thing. So I would assume that it wouldn't be necessarily a little amount per thing, enough to probably a couple runs to get you the 250. But yeah, I don't know. They're adding stuff for Valor points too, as far as being able to buy. Looks like heavy callous hide, Elysium ore, and lightless silk for 750. I don't know how much is in one of those. But
so is the list up somewhere? Is that what you're referring to?
There's some PTR stuff.
Is it on
Oh,
Valor?
I don't think.
Yeah. It's just some of the additions in the Dungeon Journals updates or whatever. I don't know. I don't look at Wowhead as much for stuff. Probably should to be up to date on it. Actually, it looks like things can go up to 1,000 Valor points to upgrade, but I don't know if that's something that's...
Aren't they capping Valor Point?
1,500 a week.
Okay.
So it's still...
That's a huge cap.
I mean, if 1,500 would allow you to do 6 pieces at 250. So...
That's a huge cap.
But I think the higher the ranks go up, the more Valor it's going to cost, maybe. But I don't know. I don't see anything on actual
I mean, I guess you could log into the PTR and see.
My one rank.
I'm not going to do that.
No, it's an upgrade thing. 250, 400, 475, 500, 750, and 1,000. Determined by the type of item. So I don't think there's anything hard set on it yet. But it'll be interesting. Let's see. Valor acquisition details. Let's see what they say here. Let's see. Callings give 35 Valor.
Yeah.
Oh God!
I told you, man. The cap is 1,500, and you're gonna get 35 Valor from doing a call.
It looks like somebody got 135 Valor for +6.
I mean,
that's nice.
I don't know.
That sounds like a 35 plus 100 though. You know what I mean? Like they did, you complete it for 100 and you get 35 for just doing it or something.
Like base level, and maybe it goes up. I don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Again, they're still okay. Well, I think it'll be interesting to see, and yeah. So, I guess the main thing we're going to talk about though is that cinematic for the 9.1. It seems like it's a composite of several cutscenes, because when they did BlizzCon and they were doing the Voices of the Afterlife, they showed part of a cutscene where Sylvanas is talking to Anduin, with the sword and all that stuff, but it wasn't the full, or it wasn't the part that was in the trailer cinematic. It was more where he's questioning why she's doing this, why is she giving him a choice, all that stuff. That stuff wasn't in the cinematic trailer. So it seems like this is like that part where she's facing him is just a clip of it. So obviously we're probably going to see parts of these in the game, right? Fully fleshed out, maybe a little bit more
that seems to be the only one, though. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, I can see the part, so she's giving him the choice. He says she'll hold all the power, kind of thing, and then it switches over to the Bastion is a Elysium Hold, or whatever the little headquarters is for the Covenant. And they're talking about, they've locked up the Nathrius, or like the stuff that happened because of what he did, what they're going to do. And then, one of the Kyrian comes in and says that, Anduin's coming, and it's just this scene of him walking into this hold, and then he passes Uther, because they're taking Uther to prison, I guess.
Side note here. Did you notice that Uther has a ginormous face?
His eyes. Yeah. It's like with it. Well, see, this is the problem with having giant armor sets, right? You have these skinny little bodies, so that the armor sets aren't even that much bigger. So when you take the armor off, it's like taking the shell off a turtle. Their bodies are really tiny.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking Funko Pop or something like that.
Oh, poor guy.
And he's only like half a soul, right?
Yeah.
So.
So it was funny.
Yeah, and it could just be maybe it's just to indicate how deflated he feels too. I don't mean
maybe so
as a joke, but I mean, like, when somebody's like dejected and beaten and all that stuff, like there's this whole physicality that you can use to kind of bring that forward. So I mean,
I wonder if they're gonna quote unquote redeem him with some of this.
Well, I think they have to. I don't think
it's just him either. It's probably all the Forsworn, right? Because
I mean, like with respect to him and like kind of what his legacy was in lore, I think that they don't have a choice but to do something with that, because
all right,
I think that you know what I mean. Like he was just iconic for the most part,
right? And
the entire World of Warcraft.
And he could be like the whole Forsworn thing too. Could be even with the fact that it was the whole reason the Forsworn exist is because of the jailer's influence and all that stuff. You know, it still could have been like eye-opening for the Kyrians as a whole to maybe reevaluate how they handle stuff. And so maybe they change how that stuff works going forward, so there is a place in their society for these Forsworn who don't want to, throw away all their past lives and forget everything. Because I'm pretty sure that's part of it, right? It's like you get rid of everything. Like your memories and stuff are gone. They're purged. Which is why when you're doing the questline stuff with Ashbringer, Alexandros Mograine and all that stuff, they explain to him where his strength comes from, and it's from, his family and what happened to him and all that stuff. And were he to have been a Kyrian, all that would have been stripped, and he wouldn't have been valuable anymore, so to speak, right? Like his source of his strength would be gone. So
I mean, but would he even really need that strength as a Kyrian? Like, they ferry the people, right?
Not all the Kyrians. That's not all the Kyrians.
I mean, they're not warlike. They don't really do anything. Like I thought the whole premise of it was that the Bony Boys were the people who were the ones who like defended the Shadowlands. You know what I mean?
Right, and the Sorting Hat realized that he would be a powerful asset to Maldraxxus, which is why he's there. So he wanted to leave, and all of a sudden they said, well, if you do, like...
Did he want to go be a Kyrian?
Yeah.
I didn't do the things, so I don't know.
I know. We talked about it a little bit when I went through it and all that stuff as we were progressing through the story.
I don't remember.
I mean, it was a while ago. I can probably dig up which episode it was in, and you can go listen to it.
Yeah, I could do that.
Because we recorded it. But it's... So they explain that, so I don't know. I don't know if they're going to, like, abandon that or give new souls a choice kind of thing, but that's definitely a large tangent. And so back to where we were with Anduin coming into Elysium Hold, he walks by Uther. Now, I don't think Anduin knew Uther. I don't know if, like, because...
He probably knew of him, but, like...
Because Uther
died. He was young, wasn't he? If
he would had to have been
alive?
young. Right? But even if he did, he walked eyes straight forward, right? He wasn't looking around. Because this is the first time Anduin's been out of the mall. Right? And now he's in Bastion. And he's not, marveled by everything. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like
because it's not him.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
That's like, I'm not like trying to be like, why is he, why wasn't he? That's kind of like the way they're setting it up.
He just would have never noticed.
It's just, it's kind of a key to us that something's off. And then when Uther walks by, his eyes get real big, and he touches the scar on his chest, which is, and, he looks, and he's got this look of recognition or something on his face when Anduin goes by, and I don't think he would recognize him now, but I think it really has to do with the power of the jailer and all that stuff inside of him, and that's like resonating with his wound. So, like, he gets that recognition for that, and that's kind of why. And I guess he's just either shocked or something, or, like, it just happened so fast that he didn't have time to say anything, because, like, nobody would have listened to him anyway if he would have warned them about it, kind of thing. And then,
I mean, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, they're, like, just taking him off to whatever they're going to do with him, prison or something like that. But, like, you get a top-down view which feels very similar to several other cinematics that they've done, specifically one in Warcraft 3 and then one at the beginning of BFA, where Arthas comes back to visit, or to kill his father, and Anduin comes in to the Lordaeron throne room to confront Sylvanas, right? So you got this walk that Anduin's doing. He's following in the footsteps of Arthas again. Now, technically not in the same place like it was between Warcraft 3 and Battle for Azeroth, at Lordaeron, but now with the same, I guess, intent, it feels like. Because, we find out pretty quickly that it's not Anduin, it's basically just his body being controlled by the jailer. And he goes all smoky and knocks everybody back, and then basically just stabs the Archon and pulls out the sigil of the Covenant from her. Which they talked about in one of the things about how they put in a hand movement so that you could know that the Archon wasn't dead. And I finally saw it, and it's when he starts to withdraw the blade from her chest before it flips back to the maw.
Mm-hmm.
But like when he pulls it out, like her hand like kind of lifts up like behind him or whatever. So it's there, but it doesn't necessarily really indicate that she survives, but they have said that she does. So he takes it back, or while he's doing that though, like there's this brief moment where he comes back to himself, and like you just see this look of horror on his face at what he's doing, and then the runes on the armor light up, and he's back under control. And goddamn, he looks a lot like Arthas.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the pallid skin, and his hair is gone pretty much white. It's no longer blonde. It's just like another blonde prince or king or whatever has become essentially either a Lich King or a servant of death kind of thing. Then he takes it back to the jailer. Jailer's like, this vessel was great. And he draws out and he says there's 3 keys remaining. So, and then they kind of do like a little bit of a reveal. They pan up and they show the new zone kind of thing being chained into the maw, or dragged into the maw from wherever it was. But the 3 keys remaining stuff really is confusing. And I think it's confusing because they took a key from the Archon. The Archon is one of the leaders of like the 4 main covenants. So you have 3 of them left that we haven't seen them take the key, which would be Maldraxxus, Revendreth, and Night Fae. Well, Denathrius is locked up, and the Primus is dead or missing, potentially being the rune carver. Potentially.
Well, like we said the other day, though, doesn't that kind of clear the rune carver then from being the Primus?
If that's where if that's where the keys are, because you would think that unless that's the key he's counting. Okay, let me take a step back. I've seen stuff out there where people have said that there's 5 keys.
Yeah, I think I heard that too.
But the question would be, who has the 5 keys? Does the jailer already have a key because of what he is? Is he on the same level as, like the Archon and the Primus and all that stuff?
So if there are 5 keys, then that would mean that there is a circle that includes the jailer or something else. If there's only 4 keys, then that probably means that they are keys to seal him away. So
because we were talking about it the other day too, and she's like, well, what if he has a key? I'm like, why would you leave somebody with a key that could potentially be used to free themselves if you're going to lock them up? Unless,
in my mind, I would, in my conspiracy mind, I would say, well, if the Shadowlands was some malicious group of, I don't know, siblings or something that decided to take over that portion of the cosmos or whatever it is and create this system, then I could see that they had this circle of trust and he had the fifth key, and it doesn't really matter if he's locked away or not. They still have control or whatever it may be, but that's very far-fetched, even in my opinion. So I do think it's probably only 4 keys, just based on the fact that, you know what I mean? It's like the 4 key cards thing. We got to put them all in together, or we can't launch the new tape thing. So, and whatever that is, I assume that's probably the, was it Korthia? Is that what it was called? I don't remember.
Oh, the new zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Whatever it is. Because we still really have no idea what the hell that is.
We know that it was a Shadowlands zone that was lost to the in-between. So that area where we fly to between, that people used to get disconnected in and just die in on the flight paths, like those portals, like the area between the different zones is where it was lost to. And somehow he was able to find this and bring it out, which is a neat mechanic for them to have to add new content.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes hand in hand with the idea that Shadowlands is never ending, and there's tons of these whatever there are in Shadowlands, right? But then, like, the biggest issue here is if Ouroboros is the center of everything for the Shadowlands, and then we have the 4 places that we could go plus the Maw, and now they have 4 keys, right? Like, they do more and more to the story to alienate the idea that there's more to the Shadowlands than what there is when they introduced it.
Well,
And, like, don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be neat that they bring something in like this. It probably has something to do that ties back to the first ones or whatever, they are, and how that relates to the rest of the creation or the cosmos or whomever, right?
right.
But I still think it's kind of dirty to sit and suggest that there could be so much more to this realm, and then just kind of wall it off with the way they set it up. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think the Eternal Ones are like the main factions, and I don't necessarily think that each Shadowlands zone had a corresponding first one, like an Archon or whatever. Like maybe they were just small patches where certain people would go just to live out their afterlife or whatever. Maybe it wasn't as important. Like, it's like you got your main, covenants that control all the different factions. Everything else is either protected by or subsidiary of the other covenants, or they just don't have anything. They're not necessarily covenant. They're just afterlives. Like maybe this new zone isn't tied to a covenant. It's just a land in the Shadowlands, and the main areas that we go to are house these main covenants and serve a specific purpose for the Shadowlands as a whole to keep it functioning the way it does. So that way, maybe not everything goes into one of the 4 zones or the 5 zones. Like maybe, it's like when they come in, like Mograine, they go, "Oh, you'd be really good for our army," or somebody that was like Uther and be like, you lived a good life, you can help bring people to this, to the afterlife kind of thing, or Revendreth, like with Kael'thas or whatever. It's like, hey, you were a shitbag and here's your last chance. But like maybe like there's an in between.
Here's your 4th last chance.
Yeah. It's just like maybe there's like these in between ones where it's just like, you wouldn't really be good at fight. You really didn't like care to help people. You didn't really do anything too bad. And you're not part of the dream.
You're not part of it, so you gotta go here. You're gonna go drive a taxi cab in New York City. Crickets.
But yeah, so maybe like it's just like this in between thing where, like, you don't fall in any one of these slots. You can just kind of go wherever, and those things just kind of shriveled up and died first.
So what you're truly saying is we still don't know enough about what's going on to really make a good assessment
Yeah.
about what's in store. Which is really unfortunate considering... Which, I don't know. I mean, BlizzCon was kind of just okay. It wasn't really shock and awe. Kind of like... It's funny because I go back to BlizzCon that they announced Argus. And that was... Argus was not a bad patch by any means, but it was very interesting for a BlizzCon and kind of exciting to look forward to. They didn't really sell this one that well, and I don't think they've sold any patch as well as they've done that one in the past. So it's really hard to, I don't know, I guess get excited about it just because it's like in a situation where we have this cinematic that we don't know where it's at, but it's already in the game as it is right now, not the PTR, it's in the standard game. This has been data mined, which is fine. They probably just, they don't necessarily have the data in there that coincides with certain releases and stuff like that. It just exists, and when that time's ready to go, they put it out there. But it's just unfortunate because we still are going to have this lull of gameplay where really all we have to look forward to is just a little bit more dungeon and raiding if someone hasn't already fallen off the bandwagon. So because lore wise, like we've been saying, it just kind of stopped out of nowhere when it was juicy too. And we're just not getting anything else. So I could be wrong, obviously. Like, I kind of hope out of nowhere there is more story that ties it all together, but I doubt there is, to be honest.
So I guess that pretty much covered up the cinematic, really, right? There wasn't really much else to it.
No, not really.
All right, so another thing that they at BlizzCon that they talked about was that the Eye of the Jailer, which I don't know if it's a physical manifestation of it, because you go into the mod and you get the Eye of the Jailer on you. It seems like that's actually Odin's eye. It's pretty much what they kind of confirmed in one of the panels. Was it the voice acting one? Or was it the
Somebody confirmed it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, I know, but we wanted to talk about it.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that what if since
Is this
they've
a conspiracy
tied
corner?
maybe since they tied Odin's eye into it, maybe it's the jailer's story mirrors Helya's, and he was forced into being the jailer for the Maw, and maybe over time that's what kind of corrupted him and he wants out, because maybe he wasn't like that. Maybe it was he lost a game of rock paper scissors and he was the one who got sent down to do the Maw stuff.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Or it could
I
have
mean-
been like Helya and just like not wanted to do what everybody else
Right.
wanted to, and they just said, "Yeah, well, fuck you."
I mean, just
Yeah,
because they tied Odin's eye into it, so I feel like it, and it does feel like it mirrors it a little bit,
Like the Maw is really just Helheim.
Yeah. I mean, and Helya's down there helping him out in the Maw, so
That's kind of crazy that it's such a microcosm because, like, Helya was stealing the souls of the Valahar.
and the
from Odin.
Forsworn are,
Well,
they're like they were.
Yeah,
were the
that's part of it.
Ascended,
It's not
yeah.
just the Forsworn. Like, he corrupted the Kyrian and made the Forsworn,
Yeah.
or helped that so that he could get the angels. But, like, then he's stealing all the souls, kind of like Helya was doing,
Mm-hmm.
or what souls he could steal.
So I mean, I feel like there's some parallels there that it's interesting.
It is interesting because I didn't even think of that. So, which
Is
then,
it really stealing them though? Because
the soul's going directly to the maw?
But in that case, like, is it stealing? Because if the light can take light-oriented folks directly,
Who?
well,
Don't they
I
go
guess
through
I'm
the sorting
assuming,
hat?
like in the case of Tyrion. I don't know. I guess I'm
He
assuming too much
wasn't-
there.
Don't they all get sorted and then they go to they get shunted to wherever they need to be?
Shunt. What a dirty little shunt.
Oh my god! Wow.
No, like, I don't know. Like, Tyrion's body is protected by the light, meaning we couldn't raise him from the dead. It could be the light interfering with his soul being drawn back to the land of the living, or just the other paladins there, just the presence of the light there. But I don't know if there's ever been an instance where basically somebody was assumed into the light, like Jesus went body and soul into heaven, that kind of allegory thing,
Well, and like in the case of Tyrion, shouldn't he be in Bastion based on everything that we kind of...
I mean, maybe, I don't know, because
Didn't we talk about this before? Was the timeline? Was he of the timeline that
no,
would
it should have
been
been
in the maw, or is he?
no, because
should
he
be
died
ascended?
he died before you, Sarah.
So then, yeah, he should be an ascended.
I mean, again,
Oh.
somebody's watch has something to say. Bixby, what do you think?
What the heck?
But no, it's we don't know, right? So, like, Mograine assumed that he should be a Kyrian, right? Instead of a Maldraxi. So we don't know what goes into judging somebody and where they end up. Now, to us, sure, Uther, Paladin, Light, all that stuff, Kyrian. Okay, therefore, any other strong Paladin, wielder of the Light, obviously should go to Kyrian as well. But maybe there's other things that are taken into account that we don't see.
So maybe he is in Maldraxxus?
Maybe he's nowhere? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe he actually wasn't that special and he's just some nameless Kyrian now that doesn't remember anything.
I feel like that would be doing him a disservice, though.
I mean, the only reason Uther retained any semblance of himself is because he's forsworn, which means he didn't go through all the purge thing to become ascended. As opposed to, because like when you talk to some of the ghosts or the spirits in Bastion, you got the Holnheim, wasn't High Mountain. The guy from the High Mountain zone that got killed, was it Holn? No, Holn was the guy that founded the High Mountain tribe, right?
Okay, who are you talking about then?
I'm talking about the one that greets you and sends you there, and then when you go fight the Draugr King under the thing, he gets spiked to death, and then you run into him sitting by the water in Bastion, and he's like, oh yeah, how my wife and kids, blah, 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 I'm really afraid to let everything go, kind of thing. It was a High Mountain Tauren. I don't remember his name, but like, the whole part of ascending is like letting all that stuff go. So even the only reason that we see named people in there, like none of like the main Kyrians or anybody we know. I don't know if they've kept their names from their previous lives or if they get new names, or if they just don't have names at that point. But it's, yeah, where the fuck is Tyrion? Maybe, I mean, he was killed. He was poisoned by Fel because he didn't die until later.
So if you look this type of question up online, people like to allude to the fact that he was. Oh no, it's Varian. Varian was obliterated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
So nobody knows whether or not, like, if you're obliterated, then you don't have anything. There's nothing you could do.
I think that's going to be something that's a later patch, because I did read a thing where Thrall is going to end up seeing Draka, and I think they're probably going to do the same thing on the Alliance side for Anduin and Varian. Probably once at the end, it probably won't be immediately, obviously, because Anduin is under the jailer's control right now. But
Maybe
I
he'll
would
stay there.
imagine that they're going to have some sort of reunion.
Well, let's be honest. The whole Thrall thing is annoying in the first place because she's been there the whole time. We all know who she
Why
is.
haven't we run back to
None of
Thrall and been like, hey?
the only people that would technically know who she is
Us?
why would we know? Unless, I guess because of
Warlord
the
of Draenor.
Draenor, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But
See, that's where they fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, huh. We know, and we
And
have
I don't know.
I mean,
there's
no,
nothing
know-
well,
like
okay,
significant, right?
did
Like
Thrall
he's-
ever specifically?
they're all gonna know by now that potentially their family is gonna be somewhere, and they
Right.
don't know whether like
Yeah.
where they are, how they can find them or anything. So I guess there's really no juice to that, the idea of that fleshing out. But at the same time, like it's annoying to be in a story arc like this and have that like, oh my gosh, it's my mom. I never technically ever knew her other than the fake timeline. In
The non-green Draka.
yeah, in
It's like,
what they would do
I know
with
brown
that,
Draka,
so,
but green Draka.
so it's I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens with it, but I don't think there's nothing significant there that,
Right.
in my opinion,
Yeah,
that
no.
could actually happen with it. So, it's more of a like, oh, we get to see them again, like the variant
Yeah.
thing. Like if you're into Alliance, then
Right.
maybe there's some.
I want to know
You
where
know,
the
like-
fuck Vol'jin is, because they started all that shit.
Oh, you need to do the Night Fae quest line.
Oh, do you actually get to run into him?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I
Goddamn.
thought they
Yeah.
they
That
did
gets
his-
wrapped up with the Night Fae.
Well, God,
Well, wrapped up.
this,
I mean-
this is again. This goes back to one of the complaints that we've had from the beginning is the isolation of the story.
The
Well,
story, yeah.
I
Like,
get why they did it though. They want you to go through and play because replayability means that you're playing their game and you're playing it longer. I mean,
Yeah.
so it makes sense from a business standpoint, but it doesn't feel super great from a I'm
player.
doing
like in
it
this,
all on
like
one
in this case, you
character.
could tell they're just trying to fit they're trying to fit that piece in,
Mhm.
especially the oh my gosh, Vol'jin. Yeah, the Vol'jin. Respectfully, right? Because I think Vol'jin actually was a really great character.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't think they ever should have killed him in the first place. But
Yep.
if they want to Games of Thrones this thing, then so be it. Um, but what they're going to wind up doing, and you can already tell, is they're going to respectfully give these characters their time of day or whatever you want to call it.
They're like moment of the sun, like
Yeah,
type of thing.
at least
Their
to give
sunset
the
ending.
players,
Yeah.
a good wrap to
Right.
it. So, and I didn't play through the Vol'jin stuff, but I did read about a little bit of it.
God, now I gotta go freaking work on my Night Fae.
I do. Yeah, I need to go. I think my rogue is Night Fae, so I probably need to go do that and just experience that.
It's just
storyline,
hard because
so.
none of the story stuff really appeals to me other than the Maldraxxus stuff.
Yeah.
Like Maldraxxus just from the inception of it, right? To me, just like that's where my main character is going. That's what I like. I like the aesthetic.
Well, I think that's where they messed up with mixing the idea of choosing a house to be a part of or aligning yourself with, and then adding specific storylines to those campaigns. Like they should have just never done that. They should have done one master campaign that could have lasted all of 9.0
Yeah.
and allowed you and gone through it like that somehow instead of
Yeah.
Well, even if they didn't do that, even if there was just still some way to have some quests that you could do that were maybe even part of that, but like anything that's like a major character like Vol'jin, right? Like that should be something that everybody should have access to, like they did with Ysera, right? That's something you fucking went through and did, but like I can see having like Order of Call or Covenant specific quests for like minor characters that aren't necessarily like Mancrick's for wife, right? There should be a quest for that shit, like a whole little quest line, like just like a side quest, like an Easter egg thing, because that's not something that everybody would necessarily care about. But like Vol'jin's huge, just like
Yeah.
Ysera was a really big character,
Right.
you know, and like the Mograine stuff, like
Yeah,
you
that would
only
have been nice to
it,
see.
it would be nice for other people to see,
Yeah.
like, but I get kind of like at least that should have been intermixed. Like Bastion players should have had something similar to that too, because that was Bastion and Maldraxxus working together to clear out the necrotic wake kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I could, and I kind of get that, but it's just, I don't know. If they're not part of a covenant, because I mean, I guess Vol'jin's part of the Night Fae then,
I mean,
or is he just like a free spirit?
So what?
That's part of.
Do you care
something?
that she tells you what wound up happening?
I
Okay, we
won't.
should wait then.
Yeah,
Because I think that
yeah.
I thought there was something significant to what he.
Yeah, I
In,
see. That's the thing. It's like I like to like experience it in the moment, and it's really hard because sometimes it's like, oh, I don't care about that, but Vol'jin I do. You know, because I really enjoyed the BFA stuff where we got his glaive, and then we got the urn, and we got the blood of Gahoon to summon him, and he did all this stuff, and we worked with him, and you know, to find out all this shit that supposedly happened is just fucked up, right? You know, and it was good. It was a good side quest. Now, it was probably Horde only, which, again, probably should still be Horde only, right? So why do Alliance players get to go through all that quest stuff in Night Fae? It's bullshit.
Well, I mean, yeah, they won't have the emotional attachment to it necessarily that we did, right? Because, you know, of who he was. You know, Alliance players won't. So yeah, I guess that plays into it too a little bit, where if you do something like that with a faction leader, it's not really going to resonate maybe as much with the fan base of the opposite faction.
Well, I guess too, like in Legion, there was the whole thing with you had the storyline where you went and you found Varian's compass or whatever,
Yeah.
and like, you know, they go and that's where Anduin gets his father's sword out of the dust that was his dad or whatever. And they find that buried. Like, there's a whole, like, Alliance side quest line for that.
Which
You
makes
know.
sense. I mean,
Yeah,
there
it
should
does.
have been.
Yeah.
You know. Definitely.
But it's just nice to see, like, I guess back to the cinematic, right? It's nice to see that they're making these parallels to events that have happened, especially significant events that are very similar. Like Arthas becoming the Lich King and all that stuff. He was basically corrupted by the blade. Anduin's not necessarily corrupted by the blade, but it's probably an anchor point for the jailer and all that stuff. And he's basically doing the same thing, you know, just strolling in and then just wreaking havoc. And it's just, and god damn did they make him look like Arthas.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of his new look.
I mean, I get it. It's an effect of the power, kind of like how
Yeah.
Palpatine turned into a nutsack when he
Yeah.
shot lightning out.
Yeah. He did.
He's like, unlimited wrinkles, you know. But
I think it's sad because we know it's not going to last. It's not going to be.
they're not going to let him die or anything like, you
Well,
know.
I don't want him to die.
Nah.
Well, you know, not like that. I'm just saying, like, they won't let him be taken over like that. Like, he's gonna come out of it. He's gonna fix the problem. He's gonna solve everything, type of thing.
I was going to say, yeah, they save all that stuff for the Horde.
Yeah, yeah.
We're the ones who have all the people go bad, you know. He's got an excuse. He's got a hand
Which
wave.
in that case, like, you know, I don't think I would want to see Anduin as any kind of like an abandonment story or type of like turns into like a Lich King type of thing. I don't think I'd want to see that because I think he does do pretty good justice to the story overall.
Yeah.
From the Alliance perspective, he's kind of like, in my opinion, he's more like the Bane.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why him and
Yes.
Bane are such good friends, right?
Yes.
They're like, look,
Yeah.
we don't want to fight. We should just get along,
Yeah.
you know. But you got all these other people like Greymane and all that stuff just have like this hatred built up, you know, and like especially Tyrande now and all that stuff. And he's just like, every time he tries, it just falls apart. Like, when they didn't save Teldrassil, right? The Night Elves basically like abandoned the Alliance, you know, and so like now he's got all this shit, you know, falling apart, and like no matter what he tries to do, that fits into his whole schema of what is right, you know. It's very altruistic, and it's very, you know, like, let's all just be friends, or, you know, live in harmony kind of thing. It's very hippie. But I mean, it does kind of make sense too, because I mean, it's been on this realm on Azeroth 15-20 years of just like these two factions just at each other's throats, you know. And I mean, it kind of made sense between like the elves and the trolls and all that stuff back before, but like everybody's like moved on from that and like formed like these bigger societies and all that stuff, you know. It's just like when you go from like the tribal stuff to like these big societies and all that stuff, and it's just, you know, like the elves have definitely become very more tolerant of other races because they wouldn't have been in the Alliance otherwise, or because of being in the Alliance because of the orcs and all that stuff, you know. But it's just, I don't know, maybe this will be the end of World of Warcraft on Azeroth, and then it'll hatch, and then we'll just go to a new planet and start over.
WoW 2.
Yeah,
Electric Boogaloo.
It's funny because that you mentioned something along the lines of like, not really abandoned storylines, but threads that have kind of went stale. One of the things that somebody was talking about, I don't know if it was Taliesin or The Instance or something I was watching the other day, but one of the things they mentioned was, why are the Kyrian still doing their job if all the souls are flooding into the maw?
They should be.
Are they doing their job? Because, like, I guess currently in the timeline, because they try.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's an awful lot of them just hanging around.
Yeah, they are just kind of being bums.
Well, you wouldn't
home.
see them there. They would be out
Right.
burying, right?
Right.
But you think if that was the case, then somebody would say, "Hey, we
Come back.
we need to pause for a little bit." Yeah.
I mean, maybe maybe this is something we don't see because of where we're at, right? If we were to maybe go back to Azeroth, maybe we would see and start hearing all these stories of people that suffer these like grievous injuries or whatever, and then just kind of came back to life. And maybe the Kyrian are out there not faring, but just returning people back to their bodies, even if they should have been dead. You know what I mean? To keep the souls from going to the maw.
No,
Maybe that's going on, and we just don't have that insight. That would be neat if they were to, you know, if after we come back, you know, like there's this whatever period of time we're in there, there's just all these stories of, oh yeah, you know, it's just like I was out hunting quillboar or something like that, and I got gored and my guts were hanging out, and the next thing I know, I'm fine, and you know what I mean, just stuff like that, stuff where
I right-clicked my mount too high up.
yeah, and I fell in and went splat, but then I was back. I mean, because they do it for us. They did it for us all the time, right?
Yep.
They would not let us cross over for whatever reason. Or maybe it had nothing to do with that, and maybe it was just the strong amount of anima our souls had just kept us tied to our souls longer, or to our bodies longer. But yeah, maybe they're out there in force preventing it, or maybe they can't leave anymore. I don't know. Maybe there's the Kyrian that are the fairies that take them to the crossover point, but they're already dispatched, so they don't know what's going on in the Shadowlands because they're, you know, deployed.
That could be it.
So maybe that's what's going on too, because like,
I mean, that sounds like the excuse Blizzard would give anyway. So.
Right.
But if it does fit,
it fits just enough.
I don't know. All right, well, I guess that pretty much wraps up this week. We Talked a little bit about some of the PTR changes for the 9.05 patch that's probably going to come out next month, I believe. Don't have an exact date yet. We talked about the Kingsmourne cinematic trailer and how some of it was missing from what they showed in Blizzcon. Not the cinematic, but just other clips they showed that parts of it were in the cinematic. But we talked about that. Talked about Odin's Eye and about how Helya is really just the Jailer 2.0.
Yeah.
And then talked about, I guess, just siloing stories into the covenants, and how we kind of don't like that. And talked a little bit about just, going to a new world in WoW 2.0, right? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, thanks you guys for listening. I'm going to stop rambling.
Thank
you
you.
can catch us at our, that was a little early.
Figured I'd screw you up a little bit.
Yeah, you got me. You can check us out at facebook.com/server restart in. Our Twitter handle is at server_restart. And until next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.